Well, we're excited today to talk to Miss Anna McCoy. She is in Austin,
Yes.
the area there with Global Ventures, and she pours into people literally daily through her talk show, coach, author, investor, on and on and on. So I just want to welcome you, Anna. How are you doing?
I am doing excellent. I'm going with the flow of things. I am enjoying a lot about what's going on. That's the good news. I feel like I'm given an opportunity to really take a deep dive into my dreams and visions. And I'm complying with the nation to make everybody better. And that would be how I'm doing.
Well, that's great. Not only are you being safe at home, kind of pivoting
Yeah.
what you do, but you're also inspiring at the same time. And we love that. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you even get into where you are today? What led you to this moment?
Well, interesting enough, because I've been in real estate. I started a company in 1998 as it relates to the commercial side of real estate, and as an investor, major, what do you call a institutional investor, meaning that our company raised over $800 million to invest in communities around the country, in low and moderate income communities building projects. We have an ongoing project in Kansas City even now to bring work, play, live communities and services to the disadvantaged communities. And so through that, I just continued as our company and our team began to excel in this place. And as an African American woman, it was highly unusual. I was married at the time. My partner was my former husband and still is my partner today, Richmond McCoy. But together, we just pulled our talents and abilities together, and we grew this company to something quite amazing. And along the way, we kept to our foundational beliefs, and that was to give and support, educate, and empower and enrich the lives of the communities we serve. So we spent a lot of time educating in churches throughout the United States. And I am a minister, and I've been a minister probably my entire life, but I was ordained in my early 20s, and I'm in my 50s now. And I've lived this life where I was about the Father's business, and that's my language, not everybody's language, but it is my language to do the things that I thought as I was blessed to give back to communities around the world. And I've traveled to almost 50 nations around the world, and probably 30 of them in the last 2 years.
Oh,
So
that's
to
amazing.
give back to women.
That's amazing. And when you talk about, you're probably seeing something in our society that you have not experienced, but you probably, with your background, have been in circumstances and situations, maybe in third world countries, that things have just stopped for people. They have maybe little or nothing, and they're doing what they can to survive. We've kind of all felt like life has stopped for us. So
Yes.
What are you seeing in all of this? I mean, what kind of advice, what kind of things could you share with us?
Well, I think that's a wonderful question. I started this year off. Everybody starts with a kind of a bang of what they think they see for the future. And the word that I received for the future was to be future ready. So I spent quite a bit of this first quarter preparing people with a very simple kind of thought process, is to be nimble, be prepared, and be now. And those three things I had no idea would bring us to this moment, and our ability to be able to handle change. I personally started to hear from my own personal life in my journey was to treat change as normal. Like at the first of the year, and I felt like this was a word for the decade, for people, for the ones that I serve, for the women, the men, that are the entrepreneurs who are trying to not only survive, but thrive in the world and be really a contributing force for change. And I began to share, listen, this word change is not like you've known it before. And this is before all of this happened. And
Yes.
if we could begin to change our mindset about our journey through change, then I think we would be more nimble, we would be more prepared, and we would be able to respond to things in our now.
That's so good. And I'm taking some notes here. I love that word. You don't hear it often, nimble,
Yeah.
but it's a great word. And, flexible, right? Like we've
Yes.
got to
Yes.
be ready
Yes.
to not only react, but
Mhm.
respond in a
Yes.
way that is quick on our thing. In season and out of season, right?
Yes.
I mean, we
Yes.
didn't have much prep time for this. Uh,
No, well, there was no prep time. That was just, this is when we think about it, we moved from what we thought was stability to chaos, and we moved very, very quickly. And anytime you move from stability to chaos and you start to move down, well, it's kind of like a circular, a cyclical journey, right? Is we are fine, and when we're in stability, we're in our comfort zone.
mm,
And as soon as something comes to shake us, it starts to send us this downward spiral through fear, anxiety, through frustrations, through anger. And it's the same thing because there's such a tremendous loss.
yeah.
And that loss is really known as uncertainty. And
Mhm.
right now we're in that space of being uncertain. But the one thing that I would say, and I've heard it, and I heard it from from a group of women that were a global group. Some were from South Africa, some were Germany, the UK, the US, and it was so interesting because all of our stories are the same.
Mm.
Our comments are the same. And I think that when we think through this a bit, we're in a space where obviously we're hitting the reset button. And it took us a minute to realize that things were like, whoa, what is going on? Well,
Yes.
I'm here to tell you it is already happening. And we're not going to ever go back to what was before this. And this is the part that is so scary for people. But I think as we start to move from stability to chaos, and you start to hit those quadrants, right? The first part is that you're really starting to, you feel like you're in your comfort zone. You got this under control. You know where you're supposed to go to work. You know what you're going to do in the morning. You know where your kids go to school. You know what you're going to work on. You know what you're going to project in the world. You got your brand and a few of your selfies that's going out there in the workplace, and you feel good about that, right? I asked the women today, I said, how many of you have taken a selfie?
Mm.
And all of them was like, I hadn't taken a selfie in 3 weeks. Why?
Yeah.
You got those sweats on, you got whatever it is. But what that says to me is that you've been moved out of that comfort zone. And when you're in a going in chaos, that's not where we have to stay.
No.
You start to question these things, the uncertainty, and change is uncertainty.
It is. So, as our new norm of
Yeah.
uncertainty, which, right,
Yes.
it's all a facade anyway. It's like we think we're in control, but
Yes.
we're really not in control, even in the predictable, what we would think are predictable moments, or those situations, the routine of everything. And so now we've had our routine shaken, we've had
Yes.
our world shaken. It has gotten a lot of us in this state of mind where we're talking mental health,
Yes.
like we said, the fear that comes in because of the unknown. What do we do? What
Okay.
do we do now?
Yeah, this is really interesting. So this may be our topic for our audience today, and really talking about this challenge that we're going through. Because even as if I can just share the screen for a second, I
Absolutely.
think
I
it would be so
will.
helpful to everyone to be able to see this. And let me just raise it up much higher, and then see if I can get a full screen for them to see. So, all right, and I think I have to share it, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Right there
so
at the bottom.
let's try that. Share screen. Let me find it.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you
and
go.
I will pop that up to a full screen. There we go. All right. So, and we were just speaking about this, Jana, when we talk about, and sometimes it's helpful for people to understand. This is something that I've been teaching for probably a couple of decades to people when it comes to their ability to accept change, to deal with the uncertainty that's happening. And it's from leading change training from Jeff and Linda Russell. from years ago, but is so applicable today. And you say, well, how do we change? When we look at these quadrants, right? We started with stability, maybe I would say 4 months ago, 4 weeks ago, but 6 weeks ago, we were starting to hear the vibration and the noise of, wait a minute, this could be really, really something that we need to pay attention to, right? So in that space of stability, we are really more here in this top quadrant, right? Of comfort and control, just as you identified. We think we're in control, and what makes us feel that way is when we think about relationships. See, we're social people, and when we can manage our relationships, now think about it, it's work, it's family, and it's personal, it's me. So if I can manage my relationships, and usually my personal relationships are the internal relationships, how I can, my spiritual, my soul, my mental stability is the relationship I manage with myself. The others are work related, they're family related, they're community related, maybe they're city, state, and nations, right? And so at the end of the day, if we feel a sense of comfort and control in that space, we kind of stick with it. But when you look at this journey through change, what you see is, as we individually or organizationally, because many of your audience members have businesses, they're in businesses, and they're trying to figure out, what in the world do I do right now? There's an answer for you. There really is an answer. And so what happens when we move from stability to chaos, there's a greater need for resilience. I have personally defined resilience in my own life, and as I've shared with others, resilience is, the meaning is to bounce back and overcome. Okay, and the way I've defined it for myself, and as I share it with others, is resilience influence is your strength of mind times your force of behavior will equal your ability to bounce back, overcome, inspire others, and move forward.
So good. So good.
So we think about this, and this is what we're asking. This is what we're hoping for, is, will we bounce back from this? Will this, I know it's changing, but will we have some sense of normalcy? Well, we'll have a new normal in many ways. Some things we will gravitate back to because they're part of the fabric and the foundation, and some of those things are on hold. They'll come back. But for the most part, as an individual, there is a metamorphosis happening at the DNA molecular level of people around the globe. And there is no way that any of us can stop it. It's far bigger than us. And I believe that to help people through the process, they're going to go through this normal expression of fear, anger, resistance. And we may see even more resistance because some people will be unwilling to begin to move from chaos to looking forward to the future, to really believing there is a future, really believing and hope that this is going to be different and that I can make it, that I'm going to be all right. My family will be all right. Now, we know that we're going to lose many, many people, as we already have. And we're fortunate to be having this conversation today to inspire other people. But at the same time, that's what humanity is all about. Is our forefathers, our parents and parents and parents and parents, they were resilient. They went through things we had never considered. When we think about 1918, the Spanish flu, they didn't nearly have the resources we have today.
Right.
Do you see? And so we will be resilient. We will be able to start to move through this fear we have, through this anger we have, this resistance we have, and we will start to move from chaos. We're already doing it. See, we're doing it. Some people will get stuck and they will think that the government is the one to bail us all out. They will get stuck waiting for someone to save them. That's 87% of the people. 10% know when to say yes, when to say no, and 3% will lead us through this process. They will be the ones that will rise up and say, yes, we can make it. These are the ideas. These are the ways. These are the silver lining opportunities. Let me tell you, for all of those who are watching, it could be you.
Yes.
Really experience the greatest transfer of wealth that's happening right now. And so, Jenna, you know what, applaud to you for bringing people together, like us coming together and others that you are bringing to your community. So you inspire people with this hope. So let me just take them through how you're going to start to move yourself. Nobody will come and rescue you.
Right.
That's why resilience is strength of mind times your force of behavior. And see, the difference is one word can change anything. If I get the right word with the right understanding, it gives me such a power and an energy to be able to activate my intelligence, my passion, my hopes. And so that's what I think this other side of this pendulum does for us. What it does, it says, you know what, if you want to move out of this space of fear, anxiety, chaos, start to ask questions, start to inquire, start to experiment, start to discover. Even if it's as simple as this, start to reskill while you have the time. Our daughter, she came to me and she says, you know, I think I'm going to take a coding class. She's 32 years old. She's a graduate of Emory University. She has been in the real estate institutional space for the last 7 years. And she says, I think I want to take a coding while this is going on. What that says to me is that she's moving. She says, you know what, I'm going to inquire about this. I'm going to experiment. And this is your opportunity to discover. If we start to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to shut down all this noise, right? We're going to become active, productive people, birthing dreams and visions and ideas. And then finally, moving them to stability is being open to learn, opening their heart, accepting things that exactly what's in front of you is probably true. Now learn how to navigate, recommit yourself to making more of what you have. And so that's how we began to move through this process of the journey of change.
Oh my goodness. So good. So good. I love that. It's brilliant, right? And timeless. It's timeless.
Yes.
And it's a choice. I mean, we have to make the choice, and it's not on how we feel, right? Because fact and feeling, two totally different things, right? Like we got to make that choice, and sometimes moment by moment. It's not just day by day, because we can really move. We can take 2 steps forward, 1 step back in fear, 2 steps forward.
And we're definitely going to have those days. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, well, what great, I mean, some key words here. Right. We've got reskill. We've got overcome, resilience, bounce back, being nimble, you know, being ready for change. Change is the new norm. And, you know, not being in a comfort zone. The comfort zone we mentally create, that we feel like everything is in our control, and, you know, it's stable. We're comfortable there. I mean, we have all had our world rocked.
Yeah, so Janet, consider this for a moment, and those who are listening to us, our comfort zone is really our habits. See, what we created was an habitual life of habits, just habits. And a habit is a moment where it's an involuntary action, okay, which means it doesn't need to be prompted. It doesn't need any support from your mental stability, your mental mind. So to get up every morning, go do the things, get the coffee, go get yourself ready for work, take the train, drive yourself wherever you're going. You're doing that out of an involuntary action that has become a habit. Your children getting up, going to school, figuring this thing out. These are habits that we created, that we felt like, oh, we got this, you know, because I don't have to think about it.
Like so automation, right? Automation.
Our life was totally automated. And then, so now we're being forced to consider all things.
Yeah, you're right. And it's absolutely a choice. It's a mindset to now consider and take action, and you know, taking the right action, and knowing that our actions impact others. Many times we feel like, well, if I make this choice, it's only going to impact me. But now more than ever, people are watching, people are taking notice, whether it's the child in your home or someone online. And, you know, it's now is our moment, and to be part of that 3%. I mean, My
Yes.
goodness. How do we be part of the 3%? I want to be part of the 3%.
That's an excellent question. And I think that for those, and I know that we mentioned earlier, and you shared with me the audience that you're working with, many of them are entrepreneurs and they're trying to figure out how do I actually, progress in this environment. This is the greatest opportunity for really all of us to consider. Okay, in order to do that, we've got to consider the things that we were doing before this happened. We have to consider what our strengths are, and many of us need to do that SWOT analysis, which is your strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The simplest way to explain it, strengths and weaknesses are the things you are in control of. It is your skills, abilities, talents, or maybe it's your product or your service, what you offer to the marketplace. Your weaknesses are those things that would prohibit or prevent you from helping more people. These are like your bottlenecks. It could be people, it could be your equipment, it could be your environment, it could be the quality of materials you have or lack of access to. These things now are what we call those weaknesses, because we need to remove the roadblocks or open up those bottlenecks. And then when we think about opportunities are the things that exist in the current market. And listen to that carefully. In the current market. And if you're an entrepreneur, okay, the market is not like it was before. It doesn't matter which sphere of influence you're in, it is very different. So in order to understand what is truly available to you, you must not ignore the current market. The way I spoke about this, I was talking to a group of coaches and counselors, and we're very service oriented, and we place a value on our service, whether it's hourly, whether it's a speaking honorarium or a fee that we get. And now, if we look at the opportunities, we have to consider the current market. The current market will not bear the thousands of dollars that you were paid to go and speak. The current market will not bear the $250 an hour for your coaching. The current market does not bear these things. So I want to say to those that are listening to me is that you are valuable. You are worthy. I am so worthy of my $250 an hour or more. But in this current market, if I do not pay attention, that will become my greatest weakness because I'm unwilling to shift to meet the current opportunities. And then finally, the threats. These threats are external, and the threats are the things we're experiencing. So one of the greatest threats that we're all facing is what we are believing right now. That's your greatest threat, because if you keep consuming the noise, okay, we know what's happening. We know who's working on it. I'm not working on it. There's nothing I can do but pay attention and comply. Stay home, right?
Control
now that I'm home,
and don't worry about what we can't.
Exactly. And so now that I'm home, I've got to shut the noise off so that the energy of creativity and inspiration and invention and collaboration, all of these things find a home in me. Otherwise, it's just all the stuff I have given over, and that becomes my greatest threats.
Yes.
And then I can work on what factors are actually impacting my current business. If I were a restaurant and now I can't open because we're in shelter in place and it doesn't make sense, I'm in a certain environment, well, that's a threat to your ability to survive and thrive.
Yeah, that's so true. So the 3%, doing that SWOT, an updated SWOT. I know we all do that for strategy when we're doing our goal setting, but really taking account the here and now, a new SWOT analysis, and then pivoting. You talked about progressing. Really, we may have to pivot in these moments. And you said it may be a weakness that we cannot do business online. So how can we create some online products and services, make it easier for clients to find us? I mean, there's all types of situations depending on what we're doing, that it's not what we can't do, it's what we can do.
We can do. And that's such a beautiful mindset, is just to shift to the can-do mindset. And the other important part is that you got to get on the same page with the people you're around.
Yeah. True.
I mean, everybody cannot take this journey at the same emotional level.
Mhm.
But if they're not in your personal family environment, you have to connect to communities like yours with people with a mindset that can do attitude to say there is a way out. And not only is there a way out, but there are things that we should be doing right now. You got to cut the fluff. Enough of the fluff, right?
Yes.
Get rid of all of the fluff in your business. Start paying attention. If you did the SWOT analysis, here's the real deal. The real deal is if you're honest about where your business is, where your revenue is, if you're honest,
Mhm.
you're going to get some information. This is what's so powerful about this, to help you make these pivots.
Yes.
If you're not honest, then you're going to be misled. And eventually the crisis, okay, the crisis change makes you change regardless. Everybody had to pivot. Everybody had to stop going to work. Everybody had to stop going to school. So that's crisis.
Mhm.
Then there is what we call evolutionary change. And these are the laggers who says this is not really real, but then all of a sudden they realize there's nobody in the street. I better go home. So they start to evolve. And then there are these 3%ers. These are the people like us and those watching. The 3%ers are the ones who seek for visionary change. This is the time that things have paused, that we get to reset, we get to reboot, we get to re-envision why we're in business anyway.
Yeah. And
So,
opportunity, right? What are the opportunities? There's so much opportunity today, more like ever before, that we've probably experienced, but we have to recognize.
Yes.
Open our eyes, open our minds, be creative about it. So I could just talk to you all day. This has been amazing.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It is certainly my pleasure to be a word of encouragement to people. And we're going to make it. We're going to experience some amazing things. We just have to be, I think, more than anything else, we have to be really sober-minded about where we are. Look at our cash flows. Eliminate skim. We're going to have some hard conversations with the people we really care about. But I'm here to say to you, if you have an idea, if you have a business that was functional, that was creating revenue, it's hard to do that. It's just really hard to do that with consistency. But if you want to save that business, you're going to have the hard conversations. You're going to have to take the pen and start striking. If you haven't applied for the help that is there, the PPP program and the EIDL programs, do it. Do know this. Know what the stipulations are. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know, ask someone so that they can help you. Now, I do know this for sure, Jana, that the $10,000 loans, they're probably going to be available, but they are first come, first serve. Many people may not have their financials in order. Don't let that deter you. That's why it's an emergency. And this is what we call a loophole, people. This is a loophole. This is where the hard qualifications, listen, the Constitution states that you can't give financial support to faith-based communities, to religious organizations, because the loophole, the CARES Act, totally shifted that. It's not in the Constitution, but they created something that overrode it and created a loophole that now, even if your nonprofit is not designated as a nonprofit but meets the qualifications of what the IRS says a 501c3 is, or I think it's maybe a C8 or something, then you still should apply. This is what we call a loophole. But do know, most of those funds are for you to keep people employed. It may be to pay your salary, but the more you put towards your payroll, salary of employees, and use this time to bring your thought leaders together to pivot, to reconsider. Yeah, and so
I love it. I love it. Anna, you have shared so much valuable knowledge. I've got my notes here. I'm going to re-listen to this as well. And I'm hoping that we can reconnect, because you would be you are, but you would continue to be an incredible resource. My gosh, so knowledgeable and so many facets of you. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you
business
so much
and
for that.
leadership and mindset, it's all there. How can people get in touch with you?
You can follow me at Dr. Anna McCoy on Facebook, or you can also follow my YouTube channel at Anna Live Show, or you can search Anna McCoy and you would definitely see all of those videos pop up. So
I love
follow me in
that.
those places, and I'd love to connect with you.
Well, that's great. We appreciate your time so much. Thank you for speaking life and strategy, just and betterment into us. We appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jana.
Thank
And blessings to all of you who watch this video.
thank you.